have spread at a speed that was not really seen. And the other issue with this thing is maybe you could see this coronavirus as not that dangerous, but actually its dangerosity is hidden by the fact that there's lots of people that are asymptomatic. And that creates a big problem, because people would get sick as soon as they get the virus and get very sick. It would be easy to move them out. Right now, we have people that are walking about in our population that have no clue that they're carrying the virus, and that's a very dangerous thing. Some author, and you see at the top to the left, has made kind of an image of what is going on, and the wording he uses is the hammer and the dance, and some of you might have seen this. So the reason why we had to, the economy had to be stopped, it's because we were dealing with so much uncertainty about the spread of the virus, its dangerosity, and basically the scientists needed to stop in order to get a better grasp at what was going on and to evaluate our ability to react. And you've heard about all the PPE shortage in the hospitals, and so they had to buy time to be able to fix the issue. Now, this said, there has been some countries that have not stopped the industry. And the nicest example is Korea. Korea has maintained its businesses open during the crisis that they had with very good success. But there's a few differences that are happened there. The first one, it was easy socially for them to wear a mask, and they went to mask right away. Actually, it's the government in Korea that supplied the face mask to all the population. That was the first thing. And the second thing, they've been extremely aggressive about control tracing. So they use software with the phone. You would walk into a restaurant, you had to scan in and go into the restaurant. So if there was a cluster in that restaurant, somebody would call you and inform you and isolate you. The third thing that they did that is different than what we were doing in North America is that when they quarantine you, they quarantine you. Here, we just say to stay at home, and there's a big risk to your family, and the spread could continue. Over there, they would put you in a hotel, and you had contacts with nobody. So there's a few things that are different. So now that we know a little bit more about where we are, and mostly that we stop international travel, there is a possibility to open up the businesses. And that possibility is very important that it's done right. It's kind of a challenge that is on everybody that has a business hands to say, can we operate smartly? If we miss it, we're gonna have to go back to square one. If we do it right, that's a big learning for the future, and it's very important. All right. So this said, and I wanted to ask the question before we start, and I think Mary said something about this. Is everybody, I don't know, if we do a quick survey, is everybody convinced that this is a very serious issue and we still have a very serious issue? Or do we feel that it was overblown and finally we did the whole thing for not much? I know it's hard to answer in the format that we have here, and usually I would go around, get an answer, but I'll give you the example of my colleague where I go for coffee in the morning, and he saw me this week. And the first thing he said, Mark, would you come and give me a hug? I haven't seen you in so long. And I said, stay away from me. And then he said, it's only elderlies. And I said, how would you feel if your mom was dying at the hospital that you can't see her? And if anybody saw pictures of people dying for COVID, running out of bread, it's a terrible thing. So it is still very serious, and every effort must be made to control it. And the spread, there's still things that we don't understand about the spread. So I just want to make sure that you understand. So Mary, you talked about Jim, and you were worried about Jim that is not being careful. So I know Jim. Get Jim to call me. I'll speak with him because that's important to me. All right, here we go. Now, why is it that you have an industrial hygienist? And when I started my career in this field, I was actually a chemist by trade, and I turned into industrial hygiene. And it might be a term that you're not familiar to, but basically, we do. It's like the health and safety, but we do more the health part of health and safety. So the safety people, they look at everything that will kill you soon, quickly, and the health people are looking at everything that could kill you in the workplace, and the public at a slow pace. And the ex-CDC chief medical officer that was receiving a prize from the American Industrial Hygiene Association, and that was early in my career, but he said something like this. He said that in every aspect of public health and safety, would be greatly enhanced by the science and tool of occupational hygienists. And this is what I'm going to try to share with you a little bit. Now, the challenge that we have right now is that the key message that you guys are receiving from the public health are aimed at the general population, right? They say stay at home, don't see anybody, don't touch anything, and you'll be okay. But then suddenly, and they did a good job at this message, but suddenly that person needs to go back to work. And I think there's one person that mentioned already, well, my people are concerned. So, and that's a normal, and this is the first thing as a business owner that you're gonna have to work on. And your job is for your employee from the beginning is to make them feel that when they go to work, they still as safe or as the best safety standard that you can give them compared that if they would stay at home. And that's your target. Your target is to make people feel comfortable when they come to your workplace. If you do, you're gonna have a good success. If you don't, you're gonna have your doors open, but nobody's gonna come. And a neighbor of mine went to Costco last week, and he said, I got there, it was so packed, it was crazy. I turned around, I'm not going there anymore. So if somebody get this feeling when they go to your workplace, they will not go in. They will turn around and go back home because the public health message is very, very strong. What we can do as industrial hygienists is, and the way we work usually is, you know your workplace, you know your customer, you know how it works. So you have to make a plan with what you know. Me as an industrial hygienist or my colleague, we know what can be done in general in the same type of business that you have. And it's your knowledge plus our knowledge putting together that is the best solution that we can find. So you're not gonna run calling specialists hoping that they're gonna solve your problem. You have to really think about your problem. And I'm going to try to give you some tools to think about it. And then you can get this review. And I'm pretty confident that everybody is going to come out strong from this. All right. Okay. All right. Let's go. So what I want to discuss about, and I want to discuss about your mindset a little bit before you get into this. There's a few things that I already discussed, but there's a few other things. I'm going to talk about the key issue related to the COVID-19, if I didn't say it anymore, and then we're going to get into tools and discussion. And I think the tools, I hope you're going to like this. Now, there's something that I told Godzilla, and I didn't tell you guys. It's kind of a funny thing. I don't know if it's funny, but it's hard to be funny when we have no feedback. But anyway, I usually work internationally. So the last place I looked is for Nova Scotia guidance. I'm looking for information from INAGAS France, from CDC in the US, from AIHA in the US. I look everywhere, and Nova Scotia is the last one. So this is kind of a challenge for me to go from what I know and trail it back to what is Nova Scotia doing. But this said, Nova Scotia is not going to develop standard for your industry. They're going to search around the same place that I was looking for, and they're going to find things that fit, and they're going to bring this back in. And actually, I believe what they said is we'll wait for the guidance from the government of Canada, which is a little strange to me because health is a public health. Health offices are provincial competencies. So I really strongly believe that if you guys come up with a solid plan, the government's going to allow you to operate as long as you don't have issue in your workplace. All right? So that's where I think it's very important that you don't wait for the government to tell you what to do, but you figure out what needs to be done and you tell them this is what we're going to do. And I think that's going to be stronger. It's going to be much easier for you guys to manage. All right, mindset. Maybe a little pause here. Question, sarcastic remark. We're all good?
Mark?
Yes.
Yeah. Just so I'm a martial artist, and I wrote an email to Dr. Strang's office yesterday with some descriptions of what different martial arts are, because they're all different levels of intensity, interaction as well. But I'm a Hapkido practitioner, and so I submitted some suggestions of how we could open up and we could train. Adjusting how we do our drills, but unfortunately, our martial art is at arm's length distance, so it's short. But in doing that, I suggested if they told us to, we would wear masks, the NMMs, or because we're close and we don't sweat or perspire like judos and taekwondos and that, we do technique. But if they felt it was necessary, we would wear safety goggles to not get, perspiration or breath in our eyes or whatever. So I submitted those suggestions to them. Do you think that would be that was okay? That was what they were looking for our sector, our industry?
Well, I would have to see the details. I don't want to get too far on this, but I would. Sorry, but I would think they'd say no. I would think that they would. It depends. Well, it depends on two things. Why can't you keep the 6 feet?
Because we're doing sweeps and takedowns and locks, so we have to have contact. Yes. And we could do that with masks on, for example. It's not a big issue.
Okay, and let's say we're just planning for fun, but it could be. Let's say that how long during the drill? Let's say that somebody goes for an hour to do his training. How long will he be in close contact, and how long can it be drilled that they'll be separated?
The drills can be standalone drills, like punching and kicking is you can do like a shadow boxer. So that's not a big deal. I've done a lot of those drills in my classes in the past. The actual hands-on could be about half an hour or so duration, give and take interaction. Essentially, if you put someone in an arm bar and you put them to the ground, you don't wrestle with them. You don't engage with them like, say, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You don't lock them up. You put them to the ground and you stand up again. So there's a minimum contact, and it's really just a practice technique more than anything. Yeah. So I know we're unusual and we're an oddity compared to a lot of other businesses, and I honestly expect that we'll be one of the last ones allowed to open because they want to make sure that everything's flat and I appreciate that. I don't have a problem with that, but I think being proactive and saying this is how we practice. And this is what we do, and we have some sweating, but if we don't do close contact drills like punching and striking, then we're okay. And masks and that, we don't breathe on each other. It's one of those things. It's there's a lot of martial arts out there in the province, and I know around the city, that are quite concerned about how everything will go ahead, and a few are quite worried that they won't open till next year. So I don't think that's the case. I think if Grazilia, you saw my email, I think, where I made those suggestions. It's just a change, like you're talking about, the new normal of doing training until we are able to do the more interactive stuff we did before. Wear a mask, wear a goggle. You can still meet the criteria of training and advancing, and that's pretty much it.
Frankly, I would be concerned. Maybe we could have a talk separately about this.
Sure.
Because I'm worried about the mask, and you kind of drilling, the mask would come off. You got somebody that is exhaling forcefully, which will push the contaminant further. I would be concerned, and maybe I would suggest you, and we'll talk about it more, but I would suggest you that maybe go if you can, go by stages. Keep people training the shadow boxing and avoid.
I mean, there's ways that we
because this way will allow you to open, and then you can start building your case more. Don't go for a single. Don't go for the home run, if I can use a baseball.
I appreciate that, and I agree with that. I was just tagging on to what you had said earlier. We should tell public health how we're going to operate, and not demand it, but say this is how we're going to do things to meet your criteria that you've set out, and not cheat. Because we don't do the same sort of thing like judo, where you're on the ground, you're wrestling, and you're moving, and we don't have that kind of contact. Contact we have is brief, a few seconds at a time in a technique, and then we're separated. So we can talk about this later if you like, and I don't want to hold up your presentation.
And I'll show you towards the end of the presentation. There's something about gym and training, and there might be something in there that might support whichever arguments that you have. So we'll see about that.
Certainly, my concerns for all the martial arts too is that we don't want an entire industry to go down the rabbit hole and that's it and disappear. Just because of these rules. Because a lot of them right now are looking at closing their schools. It's just a fact of life.
And this is I'll continue with my presentation, but it's something that I'd like to say is that, and I don't know if you can see my hands. So
you should adjust your camera so we can see what your chin.
Because I don't see myself. Let me see. Let me try this. Okay. Now I see myself. All right. So as the spread goes up, So if you have a little bump, a little spread, well, you can keep the business open because and there'll be no big economical impact. So at what point that it spreads so fast that you have to bring the burden of the economical impact? And the public health studies, we have pure scientists that are looking at this. And the economists and the health scientists have not worked together to find the soft point where there's more damage to closing businesses because that will give other health concern. If the whole population is out of job and we have no more money to give them support, and we're starting to run out of food, we're going to have big health issues too that are not much nicer than the COVID, right? So where's that soft spot? Where can we open? So what's happening now is experimental. It's in the domain of never seen. And this is why it's important that there's as little case as possible that happen in hair salons, in gym, in martial arts, whatever, because if you have a problem with one sector, that sector is going to be closed completely. So each sector, it's not about you anymore that you're doing a good job in your salon or in your martial art. If the other martial art don't do the same good thing that you do, their fault, they're gonna shut down everything, right? So it's important that you find a solution, and that you find a solution that you share it with your colleague and you work together. And this is a bizarre concept because I used to be in the aluminum industry, and we had the our health meetings. And our health meetings, we were allowed to share things among competitors, which you don't do with other business information. And the reason why was that if one of the aluminum smelter has a health problem, it impacts the reputation of all the aluminum industry. So that's why it works like this. So good point. And I feel your pain, and I'm sure you're gonna find a good solution that works good for you.
Yep. Thank you.
All right.
Can I just mention there was a little message in the chat. Somebody wanted to know about the best way to handle fabric seats on booth setting in a restaurant.
Fabric seats.
Yeah, in a restaurant.
Yes. Well, I think it might be a good idea to cover them for the duration of the crisis, but I would have to follow up. It's a question that I never heard before, and it's a very good question. I'll have to check. And I'll come back with you. It's a very good question. Thank you. So will the virus? So what we found about how long does the virus lives on surfaces? It's from a few hours to 12, 16 hours. And it depends on the fabric. So there's a study I have on this, and I'm gonna see how it responds, if there's anything about fabrics in there. So it could be just leave it like this and spray it, or should you cover it to make it easier to spray? So very good question too. I'll look into it.
Okay. And also, just so you know, it's halfway through. It's 4 o'clock. So.
It's 4 o'clock?
It's 4
o'clock. Okay. I'm going to finish my mindset, and I'm going to take 15 more minutes, and then we're going to take more questions, because these are good questions and fun. But I just want you to get the mindset. So I talked about the first point. Understand that this pandemic crisis is it's very serious, and it's not done yet. And we might be into it for the long run. So you have to think, and when it all started in mid-March, people put any kinds of barrier in place, but they were not due to last a long time. The mindset was, this is just passing, it's going to be a few weeks and we're going to be back. Well, now it's time that if you put a solution, take the time to find a good solution, because it's not for a few weeks. You're going to have to live with it, most likely, for at least a year. And worst case scenario, we could be in for 3 years. So we have to be ready. It's something that maybe just a small group I can say, but finding there's no evidence that we'll find a vaccine soon. And even when we do find a vaccine, we have to find a way to spread it to the people. So by the time we get to vaccine everybody, it's going to take quite a long time. So if you put a solution in place, when you look for solution, don't look for patches. Look for solid, lasting solution, and it's gonna help you down the road, because things are going to change. I said this about people that they want to feel as safe in your business or working you as if they're family. And one thing to do is to see your if you can separate your workforce. If you have like 20 employees, you could try to make little group of 5 that could be in contacts to each other instead of having 20. The smaller the groups that you can focus by organizing their work schedule, the better it's going to be down the road. Because if you do have a case, you can take only 5 people out compared to taking everybody out if you didn't manage that. And that's going to be a good factor. Now you are a contributor to the public health effort. So congratulations to everybody. You are now our public health specialist. And you didn't ask for it, but that's what happens. And so the fact that the public health director is asking you to help him means that he needs your help. He needs to understand what you're doing, how you're doing it, and is trying to support you in keeping the businesses open. I told you about business continuity is closely linked to your business sector success. Work together, and there's an old saying that we had: beg for information, borrow information, and if you have to steal IDs. Get your workplace as safety as possible, and you're not alone. You can consult, and I believe, and Kaziela could confirm this, that there's special funds that could be granted to you to hire a consultant that could come and take a look at your situation. Somebody talked about ventilation earlier on. Well, that might need to have someone that take a look if there is a concern, and I'll talk about it later. Do your research to identify recognized tool, and I'm going to start helping you on this, and I'm going to show you what you need to, where to look for. But don't count on the government to tell you precisely what you need to do. It's going to give you some general ID, and you're going to have to be a leader and figure out what's best for your type of business. Involve your worker in the solution and be flexible on the work demand, because as you know, school is not going to open till September, and we don't know what's happening with summer camps. So all your employees that have children, they have special needs right now. So you need to figure out how to balance them out and be flexible about their schedule, like mine, right? Like all right. So plan for long duration. I'm going to pass a few things about this. So what's, and I'll go to this one. So what's the issue at hand? So this is two graphs. To the left is basically virus. There's something special that is happening. Viruses are kind of spread through contact, which means if somebody cough in your face and a droplets get to your mouth or to your eyes, you will get the virus. If the droplet falls on a surface and you get it on your hand, and you get your hand on your mouth, on your eyes, you're gonna get the virus. But if you look at number 3 to the left here, if you look at this one, is the virus actually spreads further than we had expected. Well, I shouldn't say that. We think it might spread further than expected. There have been things, which means that it's not the big droplets, but it's being transported in the air. CDC has not taken a strong stand on it, nor the World Health Organization. They remain on their own principle. But the science community is quite upset about what's going on right now about the transmission. Again, that's going to be important when we're going to talk about ventilation in a little bit. So I'll separate this here and look at what happens. So you have to see a person that is asymptomatic or that has symptom as the source of emission. So if he wears a mask, well, he's less of a source. If he doesn't wear a mask, is a source. And if he talks loud, if he's a singer or something like that, is a bigger source. Now, depending about so that's the first thing, the source. Now, the second thing is, how does it spread? Well, close to the source, the big droplets will fall to the surfaces, and some will fly in the air. So that's how it spreads. Now, what affects it is the volume of the share space. So if you have to work close proximity, you have a problem. If you have long spaces, you have less of a problem. And of course, outdoor is even less of a problem. Now, the other factor to consider is the time that you share in the airspace, right? So somebody, if somebody that is coming for the salon, well, maybe there's things that the treatment for her hair, because there's a wedding or whatever, it lasts 3 hours. Well, if you make the treatment last an hour instead of 3 hours, keep the person less time with you, it's kind of better. So you have to find a balance between not doing anything and doing. So you might want to maybe not work on the long type of intervention with people. It could be something to consider. And also the crowdedness. Of course, if there's 2 people in a bus, there's not big of a problem. There's the bus is full, it's more of a problem. and what type of personal protective equipment. Now,
Mark, there's a question. Mark, sorry, there's a question about air travel. It's related to what you just said.
Yes.
Should we leave air conditioners and heat sources off if possible?
No, it's the opposite. And so I will give it to you right now. You want to make sure that the ventilation that was built for your building is working as best as possible, and even crank it up a little bit more. So you want to make sure that so you have the source, the virus, see it as a cloud. You want to make sure that you move that cloud away from everybody and get it to the outside. So if you shut down everything, it's not good. So you want to make sure that you have your ventilation working to a minimum as per their design. So you want to make sure that the maintenance has been done properly on it and that it's working. And then you might consider add more. Open the windows more, things like that. Yes. Is that for the person that asked the question, is that kind of clear, or is there a particular concern that I didn't understand?
I haven't heard anything, so it was a chat question.
Okay. Now, 6 is personal protective equipment, and I have to say, what a mess that we have. I've never seen anything like this. And the key thing is that when it started, there was a big fear of hospital running out of respirator. So we told everybody to don't use respirator because we need to keep them for the hospitals. But right now, as we reopen the business, some business will need respirator. So one, you have to make sure you find it. You have to make sure that you find the right ones, and that's what you need to deal with. So and then again, if they're starting having shortage in the hospital, so I really do think that the public health director is looking for people to find solution that will not require wearing respirator, which gives some difficulty to the Marshall Hart proposal. It's gonna be it. And all of this it's a probability, right?
Mark,
so the more you control each of these things, the less chances that you have to have the virus spread in your workplace. Yes.
There's a question, is a fan plus air conditioning good?
Now I need to so air conditioning. Yes, they are good. Yeah. And fan. So you try to get the fan, but you have to it's a complicated thing. But if you so what you're trying to control is the source, right? So you have to think, my person is sitting here is a potential source. How do I make sure that if he does create a little cloud, my fan that I put will push it away and outside? Right? So you have to think about what's happening with your so if your ventilator pushes the client air towards the hairdresser, that's not good. You have to have your ventilation that push it away from the client and away from the service provider. Right? So you have to think about it properly. Yes. This is something that if you send me a picture of what you want to do, I'll take a look and I'll tell you if it makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, right. These are things, but ventilation could be complicated in terms of calculation and engineering. But if you use common sense and think it over, most of the time you'd be pretty close to the right solution. You just have to a few concepts. So you want to make sure that you don't get the air away from the person that you want to protect. Right.
One more question in the chat. Would an air purifier with a HEPA filter help clear the air in small spaces?
Yes. The HEPA filter, again, you must verify that it's installed properly. But the HEPA filter is actually higher in protection in terms of the material used. If you look at the N95 respirator and your HEPA filter, the HEPA filter will filter the virus. Yes. So taking the air that is potentially contaminated, running it through the filter and sending it back in the same room is good. Now, you should change your filter regularly, and when you do, make sure that you wear gloves and you dispose of your gloves when you do make the change, and keeping everything in there, right? So there's a few notes in here. I think I'll let you read through this because there's a few things that I want to show you. Make sure I go through. So Graziella, you will share this. All right. So what you need to do really is to do this thing here. It's called a business continuity plan. And I got the links here if we want to go there. So this is a document. It's presented by CCOHS, which is a Canadian government organization. And they're quite good. And they have a series of questionnaires in there to verify. Again, you do your preparation, and then you go cross-check through this, that you check all the boxes. And it's going to help you a great deal. So think about this. And I like the term business continuity plan. Some people might see it pejorative as saying, oh, all we care about is to keep the business and not the people. But the true answer is, it's by protecting your people and your customer that you'll be able to continue going with your business. It is critical. It is critical for you. It's critical for the economy of the province that it's done right. So that's a very good reference to start with. There's also in the same type of thing. This is from CDC, the guidance for preparing workplace for COVID-19. So these are documents that I'll send to Graziella to share with you if you want to look at. And in there's kind of a risk assessment tool, right? And I won't go into the details of this, but basically hospital workers are here into the very high category. If you don't have customers, you're kind of in the low category. And people that have a high flow of customer, like the supermarket and things like that, they're in the medium categories. So you can, and this is good language to have as you discuss with like Dr. Strange or his team, to say, you know what, our business, we looked at it and we think that we're in the low hazard category, or we looked at it and we think we're in the medium category. Using that language with them will reassure them, because it's the language that they're looking for. That's their job. They do risk assessment and then they make decision on it. So this is a good tool to develop kind of that language. Those documents are short and easy to read. There's no like high science in this, and I'm sure everybody can do something. Now I'm going to finish with this. Graziella, time check.
4:15.
4:15. It's good. It's good. I'll get the questions in writing and the special things if need be. But this is I had a customer. It's not a customer. It's actually a friend of mine that runs a business, and he's in the essential services, and he's kind of in the power plant business. And he says, I'm critical. I need to continue. I made a plan, but I want to make sure that my plan is good. Would you come and take a look? And what we did, we developed a plan for it, which is an Excel sheet, and it does all kinds of things. And I'm going to run a few things with you. But these are the things that you must look at, right? How do you achieve distancing? How do you perform your cleaning? He had customer in the States, right? So he's got a special thing. So that's why the travel policy is. How are you going to run the cases? If you do have cases, how do you tell people stay home? Because you must expect to have more absenteeism in your workplace than in normal time. And you must consider to be less severe than you are in normal time. If somebody has fever when he gets up in the morning, stay home. You don't ask for a doctor paper. You don't give him any penalty. You just thank him actually for being honest and not coming to work, which might be different in normal thing. The other thing, and we talked about the Korean, is kind of active tracing. It is important, and I would highly suggest that, depending on your size, when it's feasible, if you have small, medium size, sorry, I don't mean to pick on the martial art colleague, but let's say that he's got group of 10, 15. You should make sure that you have the list of who was there today, who was not there today, because it's a great service and it's very reassuring that if in the group somebody is has a positive result, that you can contact everything. It's going to be a great help to public health services to be able.
I already have
a
attendance sheet that I keep track of on Excel.
Very good.
So that's just been doing that for 20 years. So
Yes.
That's standard.
Yes. And of course, communication to your employee, making sure that they're on board, making sure that you keep them informed of any changes, because things are going to change. So what we're talking about is a step implementation. And you can go up 1, 2, 3 steps, and you can go back 2 steps, and you have to keep everybody informed, and you need to check what are and basically what you do is you make sure that everybody gets the same information. Yes, it's easy to go onto Health Canada website and find the number of cases in Nova Scotia and how it evolves. But by posting it or by sending it through your workforce, you make sure that everybody gets the same information. And when you see spikes, it's important. So basically what we did with him, we look at these different categories: distancing, cleaning, and we said, okay, so what did you do? What do you do, and what are your comments? And you see, I'll talk about this. We gave him score. So it's possible that at first, if they open up, like if they say the 17, you can open up like in 2 days. You might not have time to put everything in place, but you have to decide what you're doing and at which level that you are at. So here for him, for distancing, keeps everybody home that he can. Here I got identify hotspot and special tasks where distancing is challenging. So again, for the martial art, when I look at this, is for the first half hour of the training, there's no problem. And then the second half hour, when you have more close contacts, then you have hotspots. You have situations that change. So you need to think about what you're doing. Right, so you identify this, work on breaks and work schedule. The reception of any workplace is important, and this one you need to look at. And I like to add. I'll talk about this later. You need to have your cleaning procedure. What you're gonna clean, at which frequency, and basically it's high touching areas. So doorknobs at the entrance, everything that is there. Sometimes people put a little paper towel. So you take a little piece of paper towel, you push the knobs, you don't have to touch it. Customers are going to appreciate all these little things that reduce their contact with surfaces, and it's important. And when they see people cleaning, it's going to reassure them. So that's a good thing to have. Regard to travel policy, well, that might not apply to many. Case management, so you must give them a stay-at-home policy. And what happens if they do get sick? And so need to look at this. Active tracing. Now, active tracing, see that this company had a lot of a courier, like people that would deliver letters and packages and stuff like that. Well, they set up a box outside, and that person never gets into the building. Because think about it, the guy from Purolator, he sees lots of people in lots of different places. His risk is higher. The more people you meet in a day, the higher is your risk. So you want to keep this guy outside as much as you can, right? So we have this, and communication. I'll talk about it in a second. Okay, this is the scoring guide that I did on each of these actions. If you're planning it, you're level 1, 2, 3. You implement it, your level goes up. You have quality control and check. So if you say to somebody, we do social distancing, well, you should pay attention every time that the social distancing is broke, and then identify this as a hotspot and fix it, right? And if you're more than 3 weeks without incidents, then you score a 10. You have the highest level of control about this. So you have to see, okay, we're gonna do something, we're gonna implement it, know where you are, keep this as a list of things that you continually improve your situation, and you're gonna be good with that. This is an example of whether you can publish this to your employee on a daily or weekly basis. And if you look at Nova Scotia, see, we have this here. So this, it means that we don't have a lot of new cases. We're stabilizing. And at some point, it's going to start dropping. And start dropping, you're going to be able to release some control. So that's very good. So you need to be on top of this and see it every day or every. Okay, just quickly, I'm just going to run through a few examples. RSST, this is, see, look at this cashier design. There is no grocery store where I go to that has this done. This is the best practice. The problem most of the time is that there's a contact here. So they have the window here, they don't have the window there. So there is design that you can find in the literature. So we can find things like that. This is the meat and poultry, there's a guidance. So for many businesses, there are some guidance. So you need to start looking for those to see what happens. Right, and this one here. So this one, I'm gonna go and show it to you. If I do this, this is back to work safely. I want to get rid of the crayon. Get rid of the crayon. How do I? Come on. Why can't I get rid of my crayon? Okay, let me see, do this, escape, start, get back. I think it's gonna work. Okay, perfect. So here, there's a AIHA starting, so at home service provider guideline, construction guideline. So that's for Mr. Knox. General office setting, gym and workout facilities. See, I have hair and nail salon guidelines. So if you go look at those and you do those things, the public health director is going to accept it. If you want to do things different that go further, good for you. If you do something that is under this, you may have an issue. And you have the one with the restaurant too. But these are very, very good to look at. Right? Let's go see this one. So it looks like this here. And let's say the gym. You want to do that? Let's do the hair salon for a change. Let's go. Okay. Do you see my screen still?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Kind of stuck. Sorry about stuck. Oh, well. That's supposed to. I guess that this is a pretty. Let's try the gym, see if it's going to open. These are 7 pages long, lots of images, lots of tricks to do. And these is what. So for the gentleman and martial art, I would recommend that you take a look at this and see if there's a difference between this and your recommendation, what you recommend, and try to be as close as possible to that. Everything that is aligned with that should be an easy peasy. Everything that is outside of that might be more difficult. Okay. So yeah, we don't see it well. It's not. Yeah, there we go. So they're very complete, 7 pages, I think, with all the information that we receive. And in terms of, we talked a lot about quality of resources. This is high-level quality of resources. The American Industrial Hygiene Association, you can rely on that. All right.
Are there other sectors covered there, Mark?
Yeah, let me go back to So I have, and they're gonna produce. So you should go regularly. These are the initial ones. But we do cover, we cover the gym, we cover the air, we cover the construction, and we cover the restaurant. That's most of the people that are here today. Is it?
Yeah, there's a couple of other kind of one-on-one clientele across the counter from them.
Yes, and there's retail too here. So they started with these ones, and there'll be more coming. And ventilation. Okay, that's all I had. Sorry about taking so long. I hope I didn't give anybody more a headache that they already have.
I have a strange question for you. It's been bugging me for a while.
Yeah, sure.
What does, I mean, this virus goes through your lungs, through your nose, and your mouth when you breathe. What does the eyes have to do with your lungs and all that? They say don't touch your eyes. Can you?
Yeah.
It's liquid. It's you know, what does that have to do with, you know, the health? Don't touch your eyes.
Yes, okay. It's called a mucous membrane. So the mucous membrane. So here in my eyes, my blood vessels are very close to the surface.
Okay.
So it's easier for the pathogen and any kind of other airborne contaminant to come in through that path. So if I breathe it, it goes into my lungs. My lungs have an exchange with my blood vessel. It gets into my blood. I'm in trouble.
Okay.
Here, it gets directly into your blood. So yes, it's we call this route of entry is the technical word.
Thank you.
So,
all right.
Yes.
That answers that. Thank you.
And
It's my pleasure.
what about, Mark, the other one that we didn't really touch on is businesses where they're touching things. Like I know Martha's here, like a jeweler's here. Like, so they're looking at jewelry, they're showing them the jewelry. The person picks it up and looks at it and says, like, try it on. And then they give it back, fix this, it's too big, it's too small, that kind of exchange.
Yes. So I like we're just thinking, and like I said, your judgment's gonna be just as good as mine, and it's this. So I would use a Clorox wipes or something of that nature. So you let the customer deposit it on it, then you wash it, then you can manipulate it, and then you do the same thing, reverse, giving it back to the customer. Something to avoid direct. There's no reason for direct contact between the two. So you try to avoid the direct contact as much as possible. So by putting it on a surface, cleaning, like that's what I would do. Would that make sense? I don't remember the name of the person that asked that question.
Yeah, that was Martha.
Yes.
Yeah.
So think about getting a system like that.
Yeah. I was saying before we started that, believe it or not, the bulk burn seems like the safest place to be. I know, you wouldn't think. You know what they do? When you go in, they give you a hand sanitizer. You can't get in without putting hand sanitizer on. Then once you do that, they give you gloves. You put gloves on. And then after that, they tell you not to touch anything. They give you a personal shopper, and you walk ahead of them and you tell them what they want, and they bag everything and get everything, talk to you about it, get everything for you. And then they change their gloves for the next person.
So how did you feel when you went there?
Fantastic. I'm telling everybody about it. So, even I'm
go.
just thinking, even a hair salon, anywhere, as soon as someone comes in, give them a hand sanitizer, get them to put gloves on. And then when they leave, even if they don't touch anything, everyone feels more comfortable, right?
Is there
it seems stupid, but you feel comfortable.
Is there a place where you can get hand sanitizer? It seems to be a really difficult thing to get.
I know. This bulk barn had great big jugs of it when you walk in. I don't know where they got it.
I know a source. We just ordered a gallon of hand sanitizer today, so I can let you know who it is.
I appreciate it. I wouldn't mind ordering it and filling bottles. Yeah. It's too easy.
Yeah.
But I
have a question.
Yeah.
Yes. Two experiences. One was this morning shopping at the local Sobeys.
Yes.
Say out of 20 or 30 customers, half of them at least were wearing masks and gloves. And when I came to the cash, the manager of the store came up, and the lady that was basically bagging everything paid my bill, and I said, would you mind if I ask you a question? And they said, no, go ahead. And I said, I find it very strange that we as regular citizens are following the government guideline, and not one single of your employees is wearing either gloves or a mask. And I said, can you explain this to me? And they said, oh yeah, we're allowed to do whatever we want. And I was kind of shocked by that, I must say, because in the aisles, you can literally be 2 feet from them. If you say, where can I buy cauliflower? They'll come literally right in your face and say, oh yes, it's aisle 3, etc. So that's my first comment. And the other comment relating to my business, people, I'm in a video transfer business and video production, so they bring me boxes of slides, all movie films, etc. And listening to you and your presentation, I was thinking, well, I can't go to the government and make a presentation on behalf of my profession because we're only very few, like maybe 3 or 4 at the most in the whole of Metro. And so I was thinking, okay, maybe this is a time to move the whole operation now, basically. And Facebook direct discussion with a customer if he or she has the knowledge and the skills to develop that. Otherwise, somebody suggested, well, all you have to do is to make sure that when they bring an order, they put it in a plastic bag, and you don't open the bag for 3 days, and you tell them it's going to take at least a week, and then when they come back, the same thing happens. Everything is packed. They pay you preferably over the phone, but otherwise by Visa, MasterCard, and they stay at the office no more than 10 or 15 minutes. Does that make sense? Is that a proper way I never have more than 1 or 2 at the very most customers at the same time.
Yeah. So the current level, it would be 5 people. So up to 5, you really have nothing to worry about. Always keeping the 6 feet, but up to 5, you really have no concern. And this is something that they're gonna start releasing slowly, 10 people and more, and eventually to a stadium full of people.
Okay.
So as long as you're below 5, you should not have any concern about that. And about the touching of material, well, you go to the grocery store and you pick up a box of cereals. Do you clean all your box of cereals when you get home? So it's the same thing. Like your slide have not been manipulated by a large amount of person, and I would not slow down my work for that. If there is any concern, you wear gloves as you get it out, or if you can clean it, it's fine. But there's no concern to a level that public health will bug you about this. So
if I wait a couple of days to be super safe, I should be fine, because I read that this virus survive on cardboard and plastic, different life expectancy. But all right. Thank you.
I'll get the study of. I have a little table somewhere that tells the expected life of the virus on various surfaces, and I'll check on cardboard. You can check for it. But yes, I wouldn't be too worried.
I just have to share something that made me realize that it's kind of a risk warning kind of thing. It's a camera. So here's what happened. I went around last week. I'm trying to promote the businesses and who's open. So I ran around to all the restaurants, and I just wanted to go inside and take a picture of a smiling face behind the cashier and all the markers on the floor to say, hey, they're open, safe, clean, empty markers. And as soon as I pulled the camera out, 4 people come around, arm in arm, cheek to cheek for the picture. As soon as people pull the camera, they all gather face to face, cheek to cheek for a picture. And I'm like, that's exactly the opposite. I just saw one person and I wanted to take the picture. So we all have to be careful of that. It's just an instinct that when we see a camera, we reach out and put our arms around people.
Yeah. I just wish, and this was not possible, to have time, for example, to review the detail of the hairdresser recommendation. But maybe we could do a little group, get the hairdresser together, look at it together. I'll be more than pleased to do that with you.
Okay.
That would be awesome.
Any help, yes.
Yeah, that would be wonderful, Mark.
Yeah. You have to think about this whole thing is like, it's a statistical thing. The less people you meet, the less things you touch, the less at risk that you are. But believing that so if you look at your regular life before this, how many people were you touching? How many surfaces that you were, and what you have to do now? What's gonna be the residual? So we call this a residual risk, and you have to live with the residual risk. You have to bring it to as low as possible. I don't think zero is possible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I agree about the Sobeys. You know that the Athletic Superstore has been closed twice, at least that I know. And the average age of the cashier has been reduced by 40 years. It was all fairly people close to retirement that were doing the cashier, and now it's all kids, 17, 18, 19. Right?
Yeah.
So that's not good. The only reason that these people are allowed to be in business, especially with an answer that you received that I heard, it's because they're so essential. But even then, we should just keep the responsible ones.
Now, Marc, I wanted to ask you about like the number of people in one sitting, like in one group. Like we heard of another salon that they're recommending when they open up. Now it's a much larger salon, but they were going to have like only do wet cuts. And to me, it kind of sounded like they just wanted short appointments, but to get like more volume of people in. Whereas I was thinking it made more sense to have, you know, a regular kind appointment and then have space in between to clean, but have fewer people in. Which is better? Like fewer people with longer appointments, or a lot of people with short appointments?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I would have to think about it a little bit. So wet cut is like less than half an hour, right?
Yeah.
And then you get twice as much as you would usually get. I don't know. I think the key is the less people you meet, the better it is.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
But this is the type of things that if there is a conversation with the public health authorities to say, okay, we have this choice and this choice, and ask them, and then they I would expect they will let you try.
Okay. Okay.
Marc,
And we
in
might
terms
find
of
something in the hairdresser guidance. I would have to check that.
in terms of masks, do you think that it's fair to say that it would be best to have both client and stylist wearing masks?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So yes. So you want to protect because so you as a hairdresser, social distancing is not going to be possible.
No.
So so it's a surgical type of mask. You don't need an N95. You keep this for the hospital. Surgical mask, and that protects both of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
I would suggest to supply it to them, and if the customer brings his own, you should be okay with that too.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
That was what we had thought on anyway, for sure.
I'm sure you did. Like sometimes people like me, they just help you get the insurance that you're doing, the reinsurance that you're doing, thing, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And do you think the air purifiers would be a good idea to install, like just those individual towers for, I don't know how many square feet they do, but I was even thinking have one at each station because I read that they were effective in the SARS epidemic.
Yeah.
If
Yeah, again, I would have to check the guidance on the hairdresser. It seems like a potential good idea. I'm always concerned that there's low quality products sometimes, and you just throw your money out the window. So I would have no quality concern about that.
yeah.
But it's from the concept perspective, it's not a bad idea.
Okay. Okay.
Well, Marc,
Thank
thank you very much for your input on the martial arts side of it. I'm going to leave the meeting. But thanks again, and thank you, Graziella, for organizing all this. This is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
I'm glad you came. Yeah, I'm glad you
Hopefully,
came, Mike.
I'm looking forward for that slide pack, to be able to look through it and that, and I like those. Thank you very much for those suggestions you gave me. So thanks again.
I really like the sector working together, and we're not used to that. We're used to competing, but I like what you said about that, because we're all at risk.
And barbers are well known, right? Everyone sees a shop and they go in, get a haircut, or but not many people go into martial arts school.
No.
So it's so out of the way, and it's so.
But one school could hurt the other if you're not working together. So that's the big takeaway for me. Yeah. Yeah,
you're right. Absolutely right. We're all different. We're not MMA, but you know how close they fight, and they sweat all over each other, and that's a problem there. So, but thanks again. I will leave the. I don't know how to leave.
Mike. If hover around the bottom and you'll see a hang up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right. Thank you so much, Mark. Mark is actually one of our members. He works in the building with us. That's how I know him. He's like 3 doors up. So we're really lucky to have like the wealth of knowledge right here. I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't get a lot of more health practitioners here, because we have so many, like physio, massage, and all of that. So anyway, I don't know, I was surprised.
Yeah, actually, I'm surprised too. I thought there would be some of those folks around.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Mark.
Yep, thanks so much. And thanks, Graziella.
Okay.
And keep bringing questions to Graziella. I will do our best. I'll run things through.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Graziella.
Thanks, Graziella.
Okay. If you don't get the slides by the end of the week, poke me. Remind me.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Mark.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Martha.
Bye, Anita.
Any rumors about when we could hear from the government about this whole thing?
They're saying within the next couple of weeks, but they're waiting. They're doing consultations, and they're putting a lot of onus on the sectors. And your business, like really up until now, there's this misconception out there that people are closed, that you need to close. You don't need to know, like, unless you're mandated to close, the ones that are touching people, the therapist kind of people, unless you're one of those, you can stay open. As long as you can practice social distancing, you can stay open.
Wow.
So they're not, for you, John, there's not going to be a day that the green lights comes and says, okay, you can open now. That's not, I don't think that's going to happen with you. I don't know everything, but I know for sure they keep telling us there's this misconception that people think that they have to close.
Wow. That's a big
deal. They don't. Unless you're one of the ones that are mandated to close, right?
So that means that I could say open Monday to Thursday. If you decide to come, please wear a mask and gloves.
Exactly. Yep. You can move right ahead. As far as I know, that's what we've been hearing, and that's what we've been told, that unless you're mandated to close, if you can stay open as long as you have social distancing in place.
Wow. Okay. Well,
it's more the ones that were mandated to close that they're going to be consulting with to find out what is their plan. So they may not come to others, like they might not come to both of you guys, to Martha or to you, because you weren't mandated to close.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the way I understand it.
Oh,
I mean, I can be wrong, and I'm okay with being wrong, but that's the way because we're constantly being told that if you're not mandated to close, you can stay open. Even the restaurants weren't mandated to close, but we have some of our biggest restaurants here closed. It's their choice.
We were picking up some food just the other day at the Lebanese restaurant across from my office.
Yes.
And we thought we were going to wait outside, and not at all. We just pulled in and went in and picked up the food, and everything was fine.
Yeah. So they've got markers on the floor. Tables are all gone. Chairs are gone. And there's this comfy area where you can actually, if you wanted to, you could sit and watch TV while you're waiting for your order. Yeah. I might recommend to them to get a screen. I don't think they had a plexiglass screen up. They probably should do that. But no, restaurants can stay open if they do delivery, just for delivery, not for sit down. Maybe they're probably going to be looking for something from them on being open to sit down, because you're not allowed to go and sit and eat in a restaurant. You can only take out.
Okay.
So they're probably looking for the restaurants to submit something. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's been a very interesting time together. And, thank you again for organizing this.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for coming. I'm glad. I wasn't sure what to expect, so it was good.
Yep.
Hope that helped for you guys, Martha.
Yeah, thank you, Graciela. Thank you
Yeah.
for everything.
Okay, good.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. See you. Bye.
See you.
Touch. Bye-bye.